Enlightenment is not imagining figures of light, but making the darkness conscious. Carl Jung. At some point on your path of self-discovery, something shifted. Maybe it came after a life-changing insight or during a personal breakdown. Either way, one day you looked around and suddenly everything felt different. You began to notice the patterns, the illusions, the background noise of your life. And then came the silence. At first, that silence felt powerful. It brought clarity. But over time, that clarity began to feel like emptiness. Not loud or dramatic, just quiet. Like your soul turned the volume all the way down and forgot to turn it back up. You stopped chasing things. You stopped caring. Not out of recklessness, but from a soul-deep exhaustion. And then came the questions. Why do I feel numb now that I finally see the truth? Wasn't this supposed to feel like freedom? Here's the paradox no one talks about. We expect spiritual awakening to fill us with energy, purpose, and joy. But for many, especially the deeply sensitive and introspective, it does the opposite. Instead of igniting your passion, it empties you. It may surprise you, but Carl Jung understood this exact experience. Long before the word awakening became trendy. He didn't use spiritual jargon or hashtags, but he grasped something essential. When the unconscious becomes conscious, something within you has to die. Jung famously said, enlightenment doesn't come from imagining figures of light, but from making the darkness conscious. It sounds beautiful until you live through it. Because awakening isn't the finish line. It's the beginning of a psychological death. The death of who you thought you were. Everything that once gave your life direction, goals, plans, dreams, starts to dissolve. Careers, relationships, routines, they begin to feel like they belong to someone else. And maybe that's because, in a way, they do. Here's the part that cuts deep. Your ego didn't disappear. It just got lost. It lost its map. And without a new one, your motivation system shuts down. So no, you're not broken. You're not lazy. You're simply between identities. You've stepped out of one life, but you haven't stepped fully into the next. This in-between, this psychological limbo, is one of the most misunderstood stages of transformation. You may feel like you're falling apart, but in truth, something ancient is awakening inside you. Jung believed modern society does everything it can to avoid this space. We call it a rut, a burnout, a crisis. But Jung called it something sacred. The void, a pause between the old self and the emerging self. It's not a breakdown. It's a threshold. A necessary space for transformation. Jung saw it as a vital part of individuation, the lifelong process of becoming whole. The problem? No one prepares you for this part, so when it arrives you panic. You start searching for what's wrong. Why you feel nothing. Why your dream board from 3 years ago suddenly looks meaningless. But this isn't a collapse, it's a clearing. Before we go further, if you're someone who craves deeper meaning, if you're unafraid to look beneath the surface, consider subscribing to Mind Alchemy. This channel is for those navigating the strange and beautiful reality of waking up. So if you're in that foggy space where your spark feels gone, where old goals seem lifeless, know this, you're not crazy. You're transforming. And sometimes, transformation feels like emptiness before it feels like truth. Here's one way to think about it. For most of your life, your motivation came from the ego. The version of you that chased success, approval, recognition. Jung called that identity the persona, the social mask we wear to function in the world. But awakening strips that mask away. And suddenly, the goals you built for that mask don't make sense anymore. You're not trying to win the game, because now you see the game. It's a strange place to land. Like an actor who steps offstage mid-performance and forgets their lines. You didn't lose your motivation. You just outgrew what used to fuel it. Jung taught that our task isn't to destroy the ego, it's to integrate it. To realign it with something greater and more authentic. He called that journey the path toward the self, with a capital S. This self isn't driven by praise or performance. It seeks truth, integrity, wholeness. So when awakening happens, your psyche begins to purge the false. Everything that no longer aligns, jobs, relationships, even your old dreams, begins to fall away. That's why awakening can feel both exhilarating and terrifying. Because the outer structure collapses and all that's left is you. But Jung warned us, if you stop here, you get stuck. Some people awaken and get trapped in spiritual bypassing. They convince themselves that nothing matters, that it's all an illusion. They detach, they numb out, they check out from life. But that's not what the self wants. The self wants to embody truth, to create through you, to live in the world, not escape it. It doesn't want to run from reality. It wants to reshape your role within it. To do that, you must move through this strange middle phase, the one almost no one talks about. The one Jung understood deeply. That liminal space between your former identity and your authentic self. A place of silence, a place of unmaking, and ultimately, a place of rebirth. There's a stage on your journey of awakening that no one really prepares you for. It's not the part people post about. It's not shiny. It doesn't come with peaceful yoga poses in the mountains or poetic quotes under sunset photos. It looks more like this. You're sitting alone, in silence, feeling like you can't explain yourself, not even to the people closest to you. And the world just keeps spinning, fast and loud, without noticing that something deep inside you has gone still. Carl Jung might say, this is the in-between. You've stepped away from your old identity, your ego, but you haven't yet found a new way to exist from the deeper self. And even though it feels confusing, isolating, and heavy, this isn't a breakdown. It's a sacred transition. But in a society obsessed with productivity and progress, this quiet phase gets misread. Stillness is called laziness. Pausing is mistaken for giving up. Rest looks like failure. So what do? We start judging ourselves. We worry that we've lost motivation, that we're falling behind, that we're not doing enough. But here's the truth. That judgment is the very thing blocking the energy your soul is trying to gather. Jung had a term for this deep inner shift. He called it enantiodromia. It's when something transforms into its opposite. You go from always doing, achieving, performing to suddenly feeling pulled into stillness, reflection, and emptiness. You swing from I need to do it all to why do anything at all. And while that swing feels disorienting, it's not wrong. It's how real inner balance starts to return. In ancient stories and spiritual traditions, this moment is known. It's the hermit phase, the dark night of the soul, the death before rebirth. It's the part where the caterpillar turns into mush inside the cocoon, not a bug, not yet a butterfly. Just shapeless, messy, in-between goo. And goo doesn't make do lists. It doesn't hustle. It surrenders. That's exactly why this phase is so uncomfortable for the ego. The ego wants a plan. It wants structure, identity, something to cling to. But the self, the deeper, wiser part of you, whispers something else. Let go. Something more meaningful is being built from within. The problem is, modern spirituality often skips this part. It gives you shiny mantras like, think positive, just follow your bliss, good vibes only. And while those ideas can help, they don't prepare you for the real work. Carl Jung would say, if you avoid the darkness, you also miss the treasure buried inside it. He believed that integrating your shadow, the hidden, uncomfortable parts of your personality, isn't some extra credit on the path to enlightenment. It's the core of the journey. The shadow holds the energy we've pushed down, the parts we've rejected, ignored, or been too afraid to face. And this in-between space you're in, it gives those parts room to finally come up for air. You're not broken. You're processing. Your psyche knows exactly what it's doing. Sometimes it pulls the brakes on your motivation, your goals, even your clarity, not to punish you, but to give you space to notice what's been hiding underneath the surface. This pause isn't a mistake. It's a necessary unraveling. Here's the unexpected gift. Once you stop fighting the void, once you stop trying to push through it or escape it, something new begins to emerge. A quiet kind of motivation returns. But it doesn't feel like the old kind. It's not fueled by stress or fear. It's not about proving yourself or performing for others. It's slower, softer, wiser. It feels like remembering who you really are, instead of chasing who you think you should be. Jung called this the awakening of the self, not just as an idea, but as a living, breathing compass inside of you. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand, it gently guides. So if you're feeling like you've hit a wall, if you've lost interest in everything that used to drive you, if you're unsure of what comes next, you're probably closer to your truth than you've ever been. Because before something meaningful begins, there's always that quiet moment of inner clearing. Not to erase who you were, but to make space for who you're becoming. This shift isn't dramatic. It's not fireworks or a grand aha moment. It's a gentle pull, a quiet nudge, an intuitive whisper saying, it's time to rebuild. But this time from your soul, not your ego. And when you start living from this deeper place, life changes. You stop chasing. You start responding. You're no longer trying to fit into an old story. You're creating a new one. You're not trying to force clarity. You recognize it when it naturally appears. This doesn't mean you'll always feel inspired. You're still human. You'll still have days of confusion, of exhaustion, of grief. But what you won't feel anymore is that constant inner conflict, that nagging sense of living a life that just isn't yours. Instead, you'll notice little things. You're creating for the joy of it, not for the applause. You're saying no to things that drain you, even if they look successful. You're choosing peace over performance, curiosity over control, authenticity over achievement. This is what Jung meant by living symbolically. Not escaping into fantasy, but allowing your dreams, your gut instincts, your synchronicities to guide you. It's a return to soul, to the language of your deeper self. So what does this look like in the real world? Sometimes it's as simple as asking different questions. Not what should I be doing, but what feels true right now. Not what's the plan, but what is life gently pointing me toward. Not how can I win, but what feels aligned with my inner peace. You stop trying to control life. You begin to collaborate with it. You still have goals, but they're rooted in meaning now, not survival. Ambition becomes sacred, driven by love, not lack. And ironically, when you move from this place, you're more effective than ever, because your energy is clean. It's sustainable. It's real. This is the self's version of motivation. It's not here to impress. It's here to express, to serve, to heal, to create, just because your soul says yes. So if you feel like your spark is gone, maybe it is, but not in a bad way. Maybe the fire that burned you out is gone. And now there's space for a different kind of flame. One that doesn't flicker every time the wind changes. Jung never said this path would be easy. But if you're here, listening, you're already walking it. It's not about reclaiming your old drive. It's about discovering a new one. One that comes from your center, not your fear. This isn't the end of your awakening. It's the beginning of your becoming. If this resonated with you, if it helped you name a feeling you couldn't put into words, leave a comment below. Let's keep walking this path together. And if you want more videos like this, exploring soul, psychology, and real life healing, don't forget to subscribe to Mind Alchemy, because awakening isn't the finish line. It's the real beginning.